At lunch, my team mocked my accent. "You sound like a scam call," one said while laughing into his pasta. That night, I stayed late and saw their expense reports, fake miles, double meals, phantom client tips. I didn't say a word. I just forwarded everything to compliance with their selfies attached. By Monday, 2 cars were missing from the parking lot. I moved to the U.S. 8 years ago. English is not my first language, but I speak it fluently. I just have an accent. People notice it right away. Some ask where I'm from. Others just nod and change the subject. I've learned to live with it. I work in a mid-sized company in operations. I'm good at my job. I don't say much. I just finish what's on my desk, keep my head down, and go home. My job isn't glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I've been slowly building a life here. A quiet life. I don't have a lot of friends at work. Most people form their little cliques. I'm usually the last to find out about office birthdays or Friday lunches. There's a group of 4 guys on my team who always eat together. Loud, chatty, always joking around. I try not to take it personally, but it's hard sometimes. They never invite me. I always eat my lunch quietly either at my desk or alone in the break room. One day, one of the guys, Travis, came into the break room while I was microwaving my food. He looked surprised to see me there. "Didn't know you ate here," he said. I nodded. Then the others came in behind him, laughing loudly about something. They decided to eat there that day. I got up to leave, but Travis said, "No, stay, man. There's room." I didn't want to be rude, so I sat back down at the far end of the table. That was my mistake. At first, they ignored me, just talked among themselves. Then, one of them, Jason, asked me something about a client. I answered. He looked at me funny. Then he laughed and repeated what I said, imitating my accent in a high-pitched voice. The others burst out laughing. "You sound like one of those scam calls," he said, wiping his eyes, still laughing. I felt my face burn. I looked down at my food. I didn't say anything. I didn't look up. I just kept eating. They kept laughing, saying other stuff, mimicking the way I talked. I didn't respond. I went back to my desk early and worked the rest of the day in silence. That night, I stayed late to finish a backlog report. The office was quiet. Cleaning staff came and went. I was almost done when I noticed a shared folder on our drive open on the desktop. It was Travis's. I was about to close it when I saw something odd. Expense spreadsheets. I don't know why I clicked. Maybe I was still angry. Maybe I was just curious. The files were full of mileage logs, meal receipts, tips, client meetings. At first, it looked normal. But then I noticed some things didn't add up. Meals claimed on weekends. Gas miles on days when we were all in the office. Some entries were duplicated across months. I opened another guy's folder. Same thing. Then another. Same. I started checking calendar invites and receipts. There were meals listed under client meetings, but no meetings on the calendar. I opened the photos folder and found selfies of them eating out, labeled as client lunch. Just the 4 of them, smiling with drinks. No clients in sight. I didn't even know what to feel. I sat there for a long time. I didn't want to get involved. But I also remembered them laughing at me like I wasn't even human, like I didn't belong. I gathered everything, files, screenshots, folder links, timestamps. I wrote a short email to the compliance officer. No emotion, no story, just evidence. I attached the files, wrote the names, and sent it. I deleted the email from my sent folder and went home. By Monday morning, 2 of their cars were missing from the parking lot. No one said anything, not even a whisper. I kept my head down. I brought my lunch, as usual, ate alone, and said nothing. By Tuesday, people started asking questions. Travis and Jason were just gone. No warning. No goodbyes. Desks cleared out. Emails deactivated. Nobody said it out loud, but the whole floor felt different. Quiet. Tense. Their 2 friends, Matt and Greg, were still around. At first, they acted like nothing happened. They still joked a little, but it was off. Their laughs were forced. They kept looking over their shoulders, at each other, at everyone, at me. I didn't make eye contact. I acted like I didn't notice anything. But I saw it. I saw the way Matt froze when the compliance officer walked by his desk. I saw Greg delete things off his computer when he thought no one was watching. By Thursday, Matt got called into HR. He didn't come back for hours. When he did, he looked pale. He sat down, didn't say a word, packed his bag slowly and left early. Next day, his desk was empty too. 3 down. Greg was the only one left. He was a loud guy before, always joking, always throwing paper balls, always teasing people. Now he barely spoke. He stopped eating in the break room. He kept to himself. Looked like he hadn't slept in days. Then something strange happened. Late Friday afternoon, I got a message. An anonymous email to my work inbox. No subject, just a screenshot of my timesheet. My hour circled in red. Below it, a short message typed in all caps. You're not clean either. I froze. I checked the sender. Blank. A throwaway. Someone used a VPN or temporary mailer. It was only sent to me. No one else copied. I looked at the image again. The hours were real, accurate, but there was nothing wrong with them. Still, it got in my head. Was Greg trying to scare me? Did he know I was the one who reported them? I had been careful. I didn't use my name. I sent it from a generic email I made that night, but maybe they guessed. I started feeling paranoid, watching my back, double-checking my reports, leaving right after work, locking my laptop every time I stepped away. Greg got quieter and quieter. The next week, I overheard him on the phone, muttering something in a stairwell. He's still here, maybe retaliation, I didn't catch all of it, but I knew it was about me. HR called him in again. This time, 2 people walked him out. No box, just his badge taken and gone. Forgone. But it didn't end there. A week later, my manager, Steve, called me in, sat me down. He looked uncomfortable. He said someone had raised a concern about hostile behavior and potential retaliation on the team. He said they were doing interviews with everyone. Just protocol. I kept my answers short, honest. I told them I didn't know what the others were doing. I stayed out of it. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. Okay, he said, we'll follow up if needed. That night, I found a note in my locker. Just one line, scratched in marker across a torn receipt. You should have kept your mouth shut. I took a photo of it, sent it to HR. They didn't say anything, just thanked me for reporting. A few days later, I found out Steve had been close friends with Travis. They used to golf together. Same softball league. Suddenly, Steve started giving me extra work, micromanaging everything, picking apart small things in my reports. Once he CC'd 3 directors on a minor mistake I made and asked if it needed corrective coaching. It was small, but I felt it. The message was clear. I wasn't supposed to speak up. I was supposed to take the jokes, laugh it off, let them steal and lie and mock me while I stayed quiet. But I didn't. And now I had a target on my back. And I hadn't even started fighting yet. The pressure kept building. Steve didn't stop. Every week he added new tasks, random reports due at impossible times. He'd schedule last-minute meetings and ask why I wasn't more collaborative. He gave vague feedback in one-on-one reviews like, you just don't seem like a team player. I tried to stay calm. I documented everything, every email, every Slack message, every sudden deadline. I started saving screen recordings, uploading them to a private drive. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I didn't delete anything. Then one day, I saw Steve and the head of HR, Carla, having coffee downstairs. Steve was laughing. Carla wasn't, but she nodded a few times. I knew they were talking about me. 2 days later, I got an email from Carla. Mandatory HR meeting. Ongoing concerns regarding team morale. I showed up early, sat down across from her and another HR rep I didn't know. She didn't smile. She said there had been anonymous complaints, that some employees felt uncomfortable with my attitude, that I might be documenting or recording coworkers without their knowledge, which was a serious breach of trust. That's when it hit me. They knew, not just the whistleblowing. They knew I was saving everything. They didn't say it directly, but I could tell. Someone was watching. Someone had access to my work logs, my activity. Maybe IT flagged my uploads. Maybe Steve pushed for it. Either way, it was clear they weren't just protecting the guys who got caught. They were protecting the system. Carla looked at me and said, "If there's anything going on you'd like to share, now would be the time." I looked down and said no. She stared at me, wrote something down. Okay. The meeting ended in 10 minutes. That night, my work laptop froze. When I rebooted it, the browser history was wiped. My desktop files were gone. Even the folders I had saved to my local drive were empty. Everything I'd quietly built, weeks of logs, backups, proof, gone. But what they didn't know was that I never trusted that laptop. I had backed up the real stuff, screenshots, timelines, audio logs of Steve's meetings, on an encrypted drive I kept at home. Off network, offline. I wasn't stupid. I started to wonder, what exactly were they so afraid of? Why go this far just to shut me down? Then I remembered something. Months ago, before all this started, there had been a client account that disappeared. Big contract. Suddenly closed without notice. No one talked about it, but I had been on a few email threads. I remembered seeing weird charges linked to that account. Meals, car rentals, flight reimbursements for people who never traveled. That was Steve's account. He was doing the same thing Travis and the others were doing. Only worse. Bigger numbers. Fake expenses tied to an inactive client. And unlike Travis and the others, Steve had power. He had access. He approved things. I started digging into old email chains, downloading archived calendars, looking at expense reports from last year. The deeper I went, the more I found, and it wasn't just Steve. Carla had approved several of them. One of the trips she signed off on didn't even happen. There were no flight confirmations, no hotel bills, just a vague description, client summit. There was no summit. They weren't protecting the guys who laughed at me. They were protecting each other. The mocking, the retaliation, the surveillance, the deleted files. It wasn't just about me embarrassing them. It was about me pulling a thread they couldn't afford to unravel. I realized I was in deeper than I thought. And now, they were watching every move I made, but they didn't know what I still had. And they didn't know who I was talking to next. I didn't sleep much that weekend. I kept thinking about all the things they took from me. First, it was my dignity, mocking my accent like I didn't deserve respect. Then my peace, making me feel unsafe at work. And finally, they tried to take my silence. Tried to scare me into shutting up. But I didn't grow up in a place where silence was safety. I grew up watching people survive because they refused to stay quiet. So I decided I would neither. I spent that weekend building a full report. Not just screenshots. I added timeline charts. Side-by-side comparisons of fake client expenses with real calendars. Internal memos with mismatched receipts. Approval trails showing Carla and Steve signing off on thousands in reimbursements that made no sense. I made sure every file had a backup. 3, in fact. 1 in the cloud. 1 on a flash drive in my sock drawer. 1 mailed to my cousin with instructions. I didn't send it to HR. I didn't send it to compliance either. I sent it straight to the company's legal department. Not the inbox. Not the front desk. I looked up the chief legal officer and mailed a physical copy of everything. No return address. No note. Just a simple heading on the first page. Ongoing expense fraud and retaliation. Internal evidence. Then I waited. 1 week passed. Nothing. 2 weeks. Nothing. I started thinking maybe they buried it. Then, the 3rd week, everything cracked open. First, an email went out. Mandatory audit. All management expense accounts frozen until further notice. Then Steve stopped coming in. No explanation. No meetings. His calendar disappeared. That Friday, Carla's name vanished from the HR directory. Quietly. No goodbye email. No farewell party. She'd been with the company 10 years. People noticed. Nobody said much, but the whispers were back. This time, they weren't about me. On Monday, the legal team scheduled private interviews with my whole department. When it was my turn, I sat in a room with 3 lawyers. One of them asked if I had anything more to add. I told them everything, calm, simple, direct. I showed them the original files that were deleted, explained how they tried to erase it, How they came after me. I gave names, dates, files. When I left the room, one of them nodded at me and said, "Thank you." That was it. But I could tell. It was real now. Over the next month, things changed. Steve was officially let go. Violation of ethics policy, the company memo said. Carla, too. Two others from finance were removed quietly. I later heard there was a separate investigation into misuse of funds tied to that old client account. Legal was working with external auditors. It was bigger than I thought. The four guys who laughed at me? Travis tried to get his job back. Sent emails to senior leaders. No one responded. I heard Jason tried freelancing but couldn't find steady work. Word got around. Matt and Greg both deleted their LinkedIn accounts. Nobody called me a team player after that. But they started copying me on every major report. The VP of operations asked me to join a cross-department task group. I said yes. Quietly. Later, I found out the company added a new position in compliance, internal ethics liaison. I didn't apply. They offered it to me. I accepted. I still eat lunch alone sometimes. Not because I have to, just because I like it. No one laughs at my accent anymore. Some days, new hires try to guess where I'm from. I just smile and say, "Doesn't matter," but I always speak clearly, because now they listen.